Hello YouTube, this is Morgan, Airspeed Prime here with my next Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2012, the Nick Show episode review. And this is going to be the episode review for 107, and the episode is titled Monkey Brains. Now, this is a very interesting episode because it's probably actually one of my favourites of the whole series because just the character interaction in it is so good. Donatello and April are really well done, as are the little moments with the rest of the turtles and Splinter. It just really highlights that so much. And also the plot itself actually adds into the a whole main plot of the series with April's father, the scientist, being captured and stuff like that. So that's going to be the first thing I talk about here, the plot and how it links in all together. When I watched this episode the first time, I was a bit like, oh, the plot wasn't really that good. It was just like, because I thought it was very to itself. But after I watched it a few more times, I realised that, wait, actually, this is actually a pretty interesting little piece that adds to the whole puzzle of the Krang stealing scientists and stuff like that. Because with this, we have that, like, they basically the Krang hired Falco to do stuff to the mutagen and kind of add psychic powers to it as well. So it's really like interesting, like always adding to that mystery without fully revealing it, getting into it. So it's a very interesting episode in terms of plot. Then you have the whole Donatello. It's the second Donatello focused episode in a row, and this one focuses on him kind of learning not to so much think with his brains and just kind of live in the moment, I suppose. And I suppose that's the next thing that I want to talk about in Donatello in this episode. And that very thing I just mentioned there, that this is his second character-focused episode in a row. And one thing I did notice was that the two things that he learns in like last episode and in this episode are kind of contradictory in that he Splinter told Donatello kind of not to kind of just focus on the weapon, upgrading it and stuff like that, and kind of think more, I guess, in the middle of the fight. And ultimately that's what beat Metalhead in that episode. But then we come to this episode and he tells him not to think more and just live in the moment. So it's kind of like beating you over the head that like Donatello needs to learn this to be a better fighter, and it's like, okay. In the end, I thought it was the kind of Splinter advice that he gives to Donatello in this episode was really well done. To just using Mikey as an example, it was a great scene. Where Mikey's just like listening to music with his eyes closed and he instantly reacts. The way then they reference it again in the fight, just Mikey's just like, oh no, how do I fight without thinking? Now I'm thinking about fighting. Now I'm thinking about fighting. He's like, ah. I thought that was really, really well done. Then the way kind of Donatello eventually like learn to do it. You know, he's thinking about like, oh, if they do this move, I'll counter with this move, and he's not like just thinking about, I'll just react to this, I'll just do it. He's always thinking about it, which is really interesting. In the end, it kind of works out really well, and I like that development for Donatello. Then the other side of Donatello in the story is obviously he wants to get April to hang out with him because obviously he has a huge crush on her. The the kind of big list, the table thing, the wall chart he had, that was just hilarious with all of the different paths that it could have taken. The master plan, that was really funny. The way he first used it, it's just like Leonard's just like, there's no way he has that on the thing. Wait, he does, and it's spooky. That was hilariously done. And then when they brought it back at the end of the episode, when like, how on earth could he have realised that Splinter was going to like make April train April to be a ninja too? How on earth did he get that? And then that's on the list too. It was really that was hilarious. He's just there like, hey April, maybe we should train together sometime. And it's like, sure. So yeah, Donatello was really interesting in this episode. Next will be April in the episode, and I think what this episode really highlighted to me was that so far in the series, April's actually my favourite character in the show. Because Leonardo hasn't really had an episode that like focuses specifically on him, he's yet to have that. I think next episode is a Leonardo focused episode. I've yet to kind of really connect a lot with him, while April is just I'm really liking where she's going as a character, especially in this episode. Because I think it's because she reminds me as a character so much of Katara, because they are very similar actually when you kind of break it down. In that they both are kind of quite passionate about things, and they can get quite like into things really intense like Katara did. She also has this like really intense kind of compassion for things that she showed here when she was dealing with the monkey, which is actually the doctor in this episode. So that was interesting, and that's kind of like her special gift, that she's really compassionate, which in the end was Katara's gift, I suppose, in Avatar: The Last Airbender as well. Not so it's not just a voice that's similar between April and Katara. They are, in terms of characters, very similar. So when when she and Splinter had that moment at the end, when like he'd been like found out from obviously the other turtles that like, oh, she realized that the doctor was actually the one who was the monkey, not just a monkey mutated. He realized there was there's something there, and he kind of obviously meditated on it, and then decided that yes, I'm going to train you to be a ninja. And that was that one moment I was like, yes, I'm really excited about this. April training to be a ninja. So she's not just going to be the one where she's going to have to call the turtles in to fight. She's eventually going to learn to fight herself with them, which is really, really interesting. I'm looking forward to seeing how that goes, her training. And like, what if she's going to have trouble training and going to have to get help from the turtles, or she's going to like master it like fairly easily. That's going to be cool. As for like why he like decides to train her, this kind of, he says she has a gift of kind of this sensitivity, compassion. That was it's a really interesting one, I suppose. And like, because is it just that she's a really compassionate person, or does she have this kind of power, I suppose, this real compassion? Like she would calm down like the monkey multiple times in the episode, which demonstrated this. And so that's another one. And then that scene at the end with Splinter also demonstrated this too, because it's like it's a skill I wanted to master, and she's like, you'll get it, and she's like really sensitive to Splinter, and she's just like, I did, it just took a long time, there's nothing to be ashamed about. And he's just like, oh, okay, wait, this is it. That was really funny. So yeah, I'm really excited for where April's going forward, especially when she was talking about, like, oh, I'm gonna kick butt, yeah. She's like, well, we don't use our powers for that. And she's like, but I could if I wanted to. He's like, yes. That was brilliant. And overall, the humour in the show is just brilliant. Like, they can have the action moments, they can have the really serious moments, but they also have so many funny moments, like the wall chart with Donatello, the other turtles laughing at him when he comes home after being beaten up, all those things, Mikey moments, and so on. The final thing I want to talk about, obviously, would be, I guess, Dr. Falco in this episode, obviously voiced by Jeffrey Combs, or whatever you want to say, who also voices Ratchet in Transformers Prime. It's the exact same voice, and it's just like, yes, that's a nice little reference. He did a really good job at voicing Falco, and the whole psychic kind of mind power thing, it was reasonably interestingly done. I did want, in terms of the plot of this episode, a bit more information on like how Falco got involved with the Krang, what exactly he was doing to the mutagen. But I'm sure we'll find out about that later. That's going to be cool going forward. The fight itself, I suppose, was fairly cool. I suppose the one thing you have to ask, like, wonder is like, okay, I guess he can like read their moves, but really, is he that like much of a good of a fighter too? He's just a doctor. That was the kind of one thing that was like, I was a bit like, oh, really, he can fight that well? Given how skilled the turtles are, even if their moves are being predicted, you'd think that they'd be like still a better fighter despite that. But no, it's but yeah, that's pretty much my thoughts on this episode. I loved Splinter, loved April, loved Donatello. I loved so many parts of this episode. I loved how the plot added into the whole series' plot. I suppose as an episode on its own, the whole Monkey Falco plot, I don't think it really worked that well on its own, but it did work as a addition to the whole story. And because we're really left with this mystery of kind of like, who is this doctor? I think Dr. Roberts or something like that. Like, who is he? Like, okay, he's a monkey now, but what's the deal with him? They've just let him go. Obviously, it's going to come back with all the other mutants that have been mutated. But yeah, that's my review of this episode. Really liked it. Looking forward to the next one. Thank you for watching, and bye.